Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be discussing this White River Knives Ursus Cub. White River Knives is a USA-made fixed blade company that I have been enjoying for quite some time now. My first was the M1, and this is now my second one. Love this one. It's a caper style fixed blade, but I use it as an EDC fixed blade and it works great for that. Then we have the Firecraft 3.5. This was a DLT exclusive in 3V steel. This one was a DLT exclusive in S90V steel. And also I picked up the Sendero, very comfortable fixed blade. This was designed by Jerry Fisk, and they have some top-notch fit and finish, excellent quality, customer service, and yeah, I love their products. The White River M1 was the first that I reviewed on the channel and had become my favorite White River knife of all the ones I have. It's a great easy fixed blade. You could use it for other things as well. It could be a nice little hunting knife, backpacking knife. They make it without scales, pinned on scales, tons of different options. Exclusives like you just seen. But today we're going to see if the brand new Ursus Cub dethrones the M1 as my favorite EDC fixed blade from White River. Let's take a close look at this. Comes with a very nice Kydex sheath. I do wish it was a fold over taco style Kydex sheath to make it a little bit more minimal, but I don't mind carrying it, especially after putting the 3.3 slim ulti clip on there. Carries in the pocket really nicely. This must be like a vacuum molded sheath. It looks nice, and it also has a nice drainage hole at the bottom just in case you happen to get it wet, even though you don't have to worry much about the steel this one's in. Tons of lashing points around there if you want to put a tack lock or soft loops. You can do pretty much whatever you want to do on this one. When I first got it, it was super hard to pull out of this sheath, and that really bummed me out at first. But I forget that a lot of their sheaths have this little screw right here, which if you see right here how open it is, this little section, that's a retention screw. And if it's getting too loose, you can loosen this up and slide it out further and further, and that'll pinch this down more. And whenever I first got it, I think it was all the way to the end. So it was very difficult to get out. And what that's good for is if it loosens up over time, which they all do, you can tighten it up more and more. Now, I've had a lot of sheaths done like this before, and most of them did not function well. I have to say this one functions flawlessly, at least for me and at least on mine. Great sheath as far as its construction. Definitely would have rather the fold over, but I'm okay with it. You got a nice little spot right here to push off on. Nice positive click, no rattle. So this is the smaller version of the Ursus 45. That is one that I checked out at Blade Show and I almost picked up because I like the profile so much on that knife. And I think why I gravitated toward this one over the M1 is the extra blade length and the superior handle in my opinion. So this one has a nice drop point blade with a beautiful raw stone wash finish on it. 90-degree spine that does definitely strike a ferro rod, especially right up in here. Being that it's a drop point, you have a fairly robust tip. So if you need to do some poking, prodding, if you need to bore a hole into some wood or something, you can definitely do that. You got a really good sharpening choil that should give you a good bit of sharpening life back here before it runs into that plunge grind. And even though I would like the tip down a little bit lower, you can still get it down on the things to do drag cuts if you want to do fine precision cutting, or it's going to be good for a piercing task as well, especially if you needed that little bit more of a robust tip. And for me, overall, this is about the biggest I like to go with my EDC fixed blades. After this, I usually strap them to the belt. This one comes in at 7.56 inches long with a 3.56 inch drop point blade of CPM Magnacut steel. You can see it down here. And the HRC on these ranges from 62 to 64, and I'm definitely good with that, especially being that this is a fixed blade, so I kind of like the extra toughness because I usually treat my fixed blades a little bit rougher than my folders. And not to mention, it is being done on a production level, so that range is right where you want it to be. It's a lot harder for a large batch production to hit those higher numbers, and I think that's excellent that they're getting it in that range. So you still have a pretty versatile blade shape. Like I said, you can do tip work if you need to, in-hand cutting, especially long cuts in hand. You got enough straight edge to where you're going to be able to do it easily without sliding out of it. Cutting on a flat surface, of course, is going to be a breeze because you have that nice gradual belly to that tip. So if you need to do some sawing cuts on the flat surface, or if you need to just do some push cuts, you can do it. It's going to work really well for just about anything you throw at it. Even if you needed to process small game, you could probably do it fairly easily with this as well. You got enough belly in there to make your finesse cuts. You have a high flat grind here that comes down to around 17 to 18 thousandths behind the edge with a 19 degrees per side edge bevel. Let's see how it performs. The knife came with a nice crisp edge out of box. It's slicing very, very well, and it seems to me that it has pretty good blade geometry because it seems pretty nice and slicing. I definitely like this extra blade length compared to my M1 that I tested and reviewed a while back, and this one is definitely surprising me so far. Hopefully it'll continue. Can't really tell how much bite it has as at this point, but now we're gonna be testing the ergos and just kind of seeing how that edge wants to bite. And we start increasing pressure more and more, and I gotta say this handle is very, very comfortable. I would have liked a little palm swell in the middle, but without it, it's still nice and comfortable, especially for an EDC fixed blade. This isn't a survival knife or a chopper or anything, so nice and comfortable, and I'm able to get a nice bit of force behind my cuts. The hammer grip was, my preferred method. Right away into the 1/2-inch sisal rope, and I can tell the knife has a good bit of bite to it, and it seems to be nice and crisp and sharp up there in the front, slicing pretty effortlessly. Definitely not having at this point to exert too much force into the rope, which is always welcome here. It's nothing worse than whenever I'm having to saw through this stuff because it came with a funky edge out of box. But I was pretty certain it would be nice and sharp because of all the White River knives I've gotten. I have not had one yet that didn't come nice and sharp. All of them pretty much hair shaving sharp with a good bit of bite to them. So this one's definitely no exception. And being that you have that belly up front, it's very easy to make these cuts on a flat cutting surface. Right now I'm almost doing like a push cut, and you could do a sawing motion cut, a pull through cut. You could do like a pointer finger cut like you see me doing here. And I gotta say, when you see me doing that pointer finger cut, it's nice and sharp, because if it's not, I don't have enough strength in my pointer finger to put down enough force to make those cuts. So yeah, so far so good, doing really, really well. We ended up getting through 145 cuts before I ran out of the piece of rope I cut. It definitely could have done more, but I had like 3 other knives I was testing this same night, and the blisters were already taking effect. But definitely acceptable, and we'll check the edge. It still feels real crisp even after I finish all this testing. So definitely happy with the way the Magnacut performed, and we'll see how it's going to do later on the last test. But so far so good. Definitely never fun to cut this rope. Hate it with all my heart. No matter how good it cuts, it's just not a fun material to cut if you haven't cut a bunch of it. You don't want to, I promise you. But yeah, the handle's nice and comfortable, and I tried a couple of different grips just to see which one I like the most. I do kind of wish there was some jimping up top. I do like my jimping on my fixed blades because, like I said, I usually treat them a little bit harder than my folders. I mean, for obvious reasons. Now we're gonna see, you can use that tip. Now I do have to come up decently high, but it's not at a 90 degree angle, so it can be done. And of course, it's just blasting through all this stuff. This is just stuff, that you might have cut, sometime in your life. I know I've cut in hose pipe and stuff like that. This is some dense cardboard. It is definitely blasting through it. The geometry's good, and that edge is really holding up nicely. The 10-ounce Diddum, it definitely has bite left to it, because if not, it would skate off of it, almost like the rope. So definitely excited for the way this one performed, and yeah, it was great. Well, I thought it performed great. Let's check that edge out. It still feels really, really good. Yeah, Just what I thought. Magnacut is some really, really good stuff. I got one small little glint of light right about here, but it could have been something I hit or something. Other than that, very, very good edge still on this knife. I could drop it back to hair shaving sharp pretty darn easily. Even though it does come with a belt clip attachment, I don't really like the one that comes with it. I just really, really gravitate toward these Alti clips. Let's see what this looks like in the pocket. Carries pretty good. As long as I keep it up on the side of the pocket. That's why I do like whenever it sits lower in the sheath, so it's down further. Whenever I'm sitting like this, I can sit down and it goes on the side of my stomach. But it functions nicely like this. I can pull it to the side, use it. And also sometimes carry it inside the waistband, and that works well too. Sitting down, it's sitting on the side of me. I can use it. And the last place I like to carry it, and I don't do this all the time, but sometimes if I'm out in the woods, nature trail behind my house, or sometimes when I'm just out and about in the house and I want to carry one of my EDC Fixed Blades, sometimes I'll clip it. Sometimes I'll clip it to the back pocket. That works well because it's literally right there. And pull it out, use it. And voila. They all work pretty much the same, but I think my preferred means is definitely my front right pocket. Or you could put a soft loops on it, carry it horizontal on the belt. However you want to do it, it's a pretty easy one to carry. And here's your weight, first in grams, 198.2 grams or 6.99 ounces. So definitely not bad, especially for a fixed blade. Besides that extra blade length, the other thing that I love on this fixed blade is its handle. They do an outstanding job of softening all the edges, nice and rounded and contoured. And you have pretty good thickness in the handle, which is something that I really like in my fixed blades. These come in at 0.74 inches thick, so it really fills out the hand nicely. The only thing that could have made it any better is if they would have put a little palm swell right here. But even without that, it's nice and comfortable for my hands. One thing I will note, if you have large, extra large hands, this handle might be a little small for you because they have the exposed tang right here to put a lanyard, or if you needed to hit it up against something, break some rock or whatever you need to do, use it as a hammer or an attitude adjuster. You could do it, but that takes away that much of the handle. So I definitely think they should have brought the handle all the way back to here, or just put the lanyard at the very back. And you may better fit large hands. I got a little bit left over. Or you could be sitting right there, which is not, uncomfortable or anything. So it's all going to depend on your hand size. Also like that they did bolt-on construction. These are Torx T15. Excellent job. Nice and crisp hardware there. I had absolutely no loosening or anything after batoning with this knife and all the stuff I did with it. Everything's nice and flush. They always do an excellent job with their handles. And I'm not sure if these are numbered or not. If so, that's number 50. I didn't think to check that out, but it's not something I really care about. And being that you don't have any crazy choils, you just have this forward choil right here, and then this comes back. Pretty much any grip that I hold this knife in is very comfortable for my hands. This is probably the least comfortable, but it's still comfortable. But hammer grip's very, very comfortable. I can get a lot of power into the cuts. And up here, I can control that blade a lot better. They did a good sharpening choil to where you can still get close to that edge without having to worry about getting hung up in there. Now for some quick size comparisons, it's very similar in overall length to the Bradford Guardian 3.5 and the very good knife company Hornet. It's also very similar in size to the Phobos Tier 1 Mini and the Terra Knives Forester. Also similar in size to the Ontario Rat 3 and a good bit larger than the Axial Knives Alpine V2. And last, it's a hair shorter than the Spyderco Mule Team knife and a hair longer than the Work Tough Gear Nomad EDC. Now for the nitpicks and complaints, I think it would have been nice to have a one-part fold-over taco style sheath. However, this one still functions really nicely, so it's a very minor nitpick. I would definitely like to see some sort of pocket clip attachment be added to them, especially being that it's an EDC Fixed Blade. but that's not that big of a deal either because I always usually slap an Alta clip on them. And then as far as the knife goes, the only thing that I would have liked to see maybe change is the scales come all the way out to here instead of have this much exposed. You know, for a bigger, maybe survival fixed blade, a pommel like that would be nice. And I think, you know, you could have put the lanyard in the back and made it like a hidden lanyard if you wanted to have that lanyard there. But that said, it doesn't really bug me that bad, you know, and it fits my hands perfectly. So my overall thoughts on this knife, this is a $200 USA made fixed blade in CPM Magnacut with an excellent HRC. It performed outstanding. It's super, super comfortable and has been in my pocket more than a lot of my other EDC fixed blades this year. So I think right now this is my current favorite White River Knives fixed blade. You know, that could change over time and possibly could change if I end up picking up the Model 1 in Magnacut whenever it comes back. I don't know if these are currently in stock or not. If they're not, don't worry. They will come back. They always do. They try to pump them out as fast as they can. And I'm sure these were pretty popular, being that this one and the M1, I think, were their first fixed blades done in Magnacut. I could be wrong on that. But definitely won't be my last White River knife. I really, really want to pick up one of the Exodus knife and tool fixed blades. That looks like it's right up my alley. And the GTI looks awesome as well. So if any of y'all have either one of those, let me know what you think about them. And if you have both of them, which one would you choose first? And maybe one day in the near future, I could do a collab with White River, because I definitely can't afford to keep buying every single one of them. I have bought all of them so far, but it would be nice to be able to collab with my US companies out there. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave those down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.